Hello again. One of the questions I've been asked to do this video on is how to make templates. People seem to get this real thing in their head about templates, so they're really difficult and they take a whole heap of setting up. Templates, the easiest way to do them, as I'll just show you now, is actually you don't need to do anything different with your Excel sheet than you would normally. So the idea behind a template is you set a worksheet up, then someone can come and input data in there, and then they can save it, but they're not going to overwrite that template. They're not going to basically get rid of that work that you've already done, so that way when the next person wants to come along, they can also open it and have a blank one to work from. So the simplest way to do that is actually just to make your file read-only. Read-only means that people can open the file, but they can't save over the top of it. It's fairly simple to do, and in most cases this is a very easy way to do it. So this is my document here. Obviously I can save it, click on the save button, and it's happy to save any changes. I'm just going to close that down. So with this folder, which is just this one here, if I right click on it and I go down to the bottom where it says properties, I get this little dialog box that comes up. I'm just going to tick that one that says read only, and then we're going to click OK. So it's outside there, read only, click OK. So that's read only now. So now if I open this document up, if I try and make any form of changes, and I try and save it, it says it's a read only. So it basically says I've got to save it as, and it'll actually bring the save as dialog box up for me. So if anyone opens that and they make any changes to it, they put their own information in, they're going to be forced to save it as a copy. They can't save it over the original one. So that is by far the simplest and easiest way to do it. So make your file read only, people won't be able to save over the top of it. Okay, so the other way to save your document as a template is to actually save it as the format of a template. So that's as simple as, again, like once you've got your spreadsheet set up the way you want it to be set up, you come up here to your Backstage view by clicking on File. You go down to the Save As option. When you go to save it, I'm just going to save this on my desktop for the moment. I'm going to give it the name of being there. Just here where it says the type of workbook, you'll notice if you scroll down, there's one there that's called Excel template. There's another one there that's called macro enabled template, which if you've got macros you'll need to save it as, but as this one doesn't, it's just a standard Excel spreadsheet. I'm just going to save it as an Excel TX file. So as I said, I'm just going to pop that one on the desktop and just click save. Really the only difference between those ones and the one I showed you previously with the read only is that you can get your IT administrators to make that template available to people under the templates side of Excel. So when you look up the templates in a new document, you can have one of these, but it's just as easy just to click on it to open it. And again, you find the same thing if you make any changes to the template. So I'm just going to put some text in there. When I go to save, again it comes up with a save as dialog box because I can't save over the original template, and it chooses that one there. So they both really do the same sort of thing. They do it slightly different ways. Whichever you're more comfortable with using, you're more than welcome to use, but that is basically setting up a template so that people can't write over it. Next section we'll have a look at some of the protection features. So you've got a worksheet and you won't be able to put information in certain cells, but not certain areas and bits and bobs like that. Show you how to do that. Hi there, just going to talk a little bit about protection of your Excel workbooks and worksheets. So quite often we need to prevent the information in our Excel spreadsheets from being changed. Now that could be for a number of reasons, and there are a few different options you've got for protection. There's really a few different levels of protection. The highest level is to either keep your spreadsheet in a location which is a network location which is password protected, which only you have access to. That's one way of doing it. The other way is to actually put a password on the workbook, which I'll show you a bit later, and that means that no one can open or even view the workbook without a password. The most common is to actually just protect the sheets and protect the workbook, which is essentially allows people to view the information but doesn't necessarily allow them to change it. And then the final Final step is a mix of the two, which is probably the one that's most useful to a lot of people, which is where you allow people to edit certain areas of the sheet, but not other areas. So that's what we're going to look at first. So I've got my spreadsheet here. As I click through certain areas, you'll see that these ones through the formula bar up there, these are formulas, so these are calculated rows. So if I had someone coming in here and I wanted them to put information in there, I wouldn't want them to change this because this is calculated. So I'd want them to change the values that these cells use to calculate. So these ones up here, you can see these are just text input values. So these are calculating values. So if I change one of these values there, it updates the rest of the cell there. So that's what I want them to change, these values up here, but not anything else down there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come to my review tab. Get that up there, so it's staying up there. So I've got my review tab, and I've got these options here for protecting my workbook. I want to allow users to edit ranges, so this is what I'm interested in. So this allows users to edit a certain range, but not others. So I'm just going to click on that one. It brings up a little dialog box. Range is unlocked by a password when sheet is protected, so I'm just going to click New. You can choose the name of your range and refers to cells. So this is just what you actually want to be unlocked. So I'm just going to select those ones there because they're the ones I want them to be able to edit. I might select all these ones as well because I might want to change what they are, give them different names. Range password, I'm going to leave this blank. So that means that when it's password protected, they're not going to require a password, they're just going to be unlocked by default. If you have different levels, so you want some people to be able to edit, some parts but not others, you might start using different passwords for different areas. It does get quite complicated very quickly, so you can do that. But just make sure that it's with a group of people who are going to remember their passwords. Otherwise, you'll spend all your time telling people what the passwords are, or they'll get frustrated and just take the password off the whole thing and defeat the point. So yeah. So for this one, if I wanted them to edit it, I'm just going to leave that password blank. Didn't like that reference. Put it in again. There we go. I'm more happy with that. So blank password. I'm just going to click OK. So that's come up there, and then once I've finished with that, I'm just going to hit the Protect Sheet button. Again, with protected sheets, you can put a password in. I tend to just leave this as the standard default settings for there. You can go through these and decide whether you want people to be able to do any of these functions in there, but I'm just going to leave that as is. Password to unprotected sheet. Again, you can leave this blank if you want. The sheet will still be protected, but it does mean that if they just click the unprotect button, it will be unprotected. They don't need to put a password in, so it's up to you. If it's more just to prevent people from putting information in the wrong spot, you might leave that blank. If you really don't want people to change it, you might put a password in. If you do put a password in, I'm just going to put... It's going to ask you to confirm that password. So as we can see now, if I try and click on majority of these areas, it comes up and tells me that it's protected, but I can still edit these areas up here. So you can see that by adding that that range there, I can still edit that. I can still put different values in, and the rest of the sheet will update. So that's part protection. So that's protecting certain areas of the sheet. That's probably the one that's going to be most useful. If you want to add more areas, you do need to first unprotect the sheet. So if you come up here, unprotect the sheet, put the password in. Allow users to edit ranges comes back again. That original range is still there, so you can add more, you can delete that one, you can modify it, and you can do that for the whole workbook. So that's a fairly simple one just there. Okay, so that's protecting sheets. Protecting sheets you can do for each individual sheet. So if I protect the sheet here, I'm going to put a password on it. It doesn't protect the sheet over there, so you need to do that individually. Protect workbook. Structure in Windows, as I said, that prevents people from adding. See, I can't insert a new worksheet anymore, and also if I try and change this, you see I've got all my options there grayed out, so I can't actually change any of the structure of the worksheet. So that's what this Protect the Workbook does. So it doesn't prevent me from changing any of the information. I can still do that with the workbook protection on, but I can't add new tabs or change any of the structure. So that's those two main ones. As I said, the final one with regards to protection is actually to put a password on the file. So encrypt with password. If I get rid of that, then it goes back to being blank. So if I come up to my Backstage view by clicking on File, and I click on the Info tab, this top one here is Protect Workbook. This is more for protecting it so that no one can open it. This makes it so that only people with passwords can open and view the file. So by default, this is it. It's anyone can open, copy, and change any part of this workbook. If I go down here to encrypt with a password, encrypt password, you need to put a password in here. You obviously can't leave it blank. So I put that in there now. I'm just going to save this file. If I go back to open that up now, it won't let me open it without the password, so I need to put the password in to get that one opened up. So the password protection, as you can see, that's a fairly high level of protection for your spreadsheet. You may or may not want to use that depending on your situation. The final thing I want to talk about is help your users. So if you're protecting certain areas of your worksheet, let me come back to this one here, data, so review. So if I protect the sheet, we've got these areas which are protected and unprotected. If you use cell formatting, I'm just going to come back and unprotect it so I can do this. If you're going to have areas which users can edit, I would suggest making them different colours so it's really obvious what they can and can't edit. So you've got this the cell styles button up here. It's got a whole heap of suggested ones there. So for inputs, have it that colour. For calculations, have them that colour. For outputs, have them that colour. So if you basically put a little explanation that that's ones they can edit and anything else they can't, then it does save them getting frustrated and clicking around lots on cells that they can't edit. So be kind when you're developing your spreadsheets. If other people have got to use them, try and make it as helpful for them as humanly possible. But that is protection within Excel spreadsheets. If you do need any help with this, or you've got some specific questions on using the protection setup in Microsoft Excel, feel free to send me an email at robin@scopetraining.com.au. If you want any specific examples doing, I'm more than happy to do that as well. So hopefully that was helpful. Hopefully that made it a little bit less confusing about the different types of password protection that we've got.